Good evening, everyone. This is, of course, Wednesday evening, so this is the BroDiallo Q&A. I have a guest this evening, Chef Rain Truth. I'm just checking in with her. So anyway, sorry. Just waiting to hear from the sister. And then we can go live. I'm just making sure everything is going. And yes, we are live, all the way live. Okay, that's all situated. So I'll just wait to hear from Chef Rain. If you're watching, just follow the link, and you can join me on this live. But we'll just get started, and when the sister logs in, we'll bring her on for the live. If you're new to the BroDiallo Q&A, we're here for questions, comments, and criticisms. We do have generally a topic focus, such as this evening, it's veganism. But if you have questions beyond that, then we will entertain them if able. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, support when and where you can. The BroDiallo broadcast and our overall Pan-African media apparatus. 2 Q&As. Wait, were you saying I'm not consistent, Tito? Yeah, let's keep it up. Yeah, I agree. All right, but yeah, I guess I deserve that, Tito. Let me not hate. But anyway, so let's just get started. Q&A, and again, let me just keep my phone handy in case, if our guest this evening is having any issues. Just make sure she got the link. Yeah, there she is. Okay. So hopefully she'll tune in. So Deborah and Tito. Yes, I didn't give myself the name the Grinch of Pan-Africanism. Actually, Black Star, the Underground King, started calling me the Grinch of Pan-Africanism because he didn't like my criticisms of any and everything. But man, listen, I find so much fault with the world. I mean, I'm generally a happy guy with a pleasant disposition. If you ever come to my home for green tea and vegan cupcakes and we have a nice sit down, you'll see that I'm not such a mean or an unpleasant person. Chauncey has been to my home for green tea and vegan cupcakes, and he can attest to I'm a rather pleasant person to keep the company of. So But I okay, call me a Grinch. But my hateration, reason I think my hateration is better than most haterations you find out there is because my hateration is evidence-based, it's rational and critiqued, and I'm willing to change my position, adopt a new point of view when I'm given a better argument or evidence to the contrary of my current conclusion. So that's how I get down. That's how I flex. That's how I move. So, okay, Tito, you have an A1 analysis, Diallo. You're invaluable to Pan African. I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate. And I dwell in hateration so much. I don't know. I struggle with compliments, but I try to be gracious, and I do appreciate them. But I you know, I do sincerely appreciate such compliments. Chauncey ain't been here either. Yes, I am. I'm nice with it. Anybody want to come to May Zulu? I'll put my Xbox handle in the comments. Let's see. This is me on Xbox. So if you ever want to get dusted, I'm just stalling for time. But we can go with questions. But I just put my handle in the comments on YouTube. So if you want to ever throw down some Mortal Kombat, Gears of War, anything you want to throw down, just holler at me and I'll dust your ass. It's all support. Shout out. Anyway, any questions this evening? Because if I start rambling, I'll never get back to the question. If we start going down these rabbit holes, I'll never get back to questions. So I'm just looking at my phone periodically to see if the sister has reached out. No, still not. I might have to carry this. Okay, we got our first question. Can I speak on the coup that recently happened in Guinea? No, I haven't had a chance to look into that. I've actually been researching some stuff related to climate change. So I definitely will make note to speak on the coup. But I really haven't had a chance to give it a proper assessment. I'm generally not a fan of coup d'etats, but yeah, so I can't. Sorry, but ask me next Q&A or tune into the next BroDiallo show, and I will definitely give my view of that. But I haven't had an opportunity to look into that going. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I don't feel confident that I have enough understanding to share my thing. Do I have documentary suggestions? Yes. I'll share some of my favorite documentaries. I'll share The Architecture of Doom. We'll just go to the wiki page. The Architecture of Doom. This is one of my favorite documentaries. Wow, it's so tiny. How do you increase I don't see it. Oh, hold on. But this is it. You can go to the Wikipedia. I'll share the Wikipedia. This is The Architecture of Doom. It's there's a German and English language version. This basically talks about not just a lot of times when you focus on the German Holocaust, you know, and that's another issue with the Western or Eurocentric point of view. The German Holocaust, you'll notice they focus a lot on the particular horrors of it, the tortures, the murders, the body count, and things of that nature. But what very few documentaries concerning the German Holocaust do is focus on the core ideology of the Nazis. And I think the reason why they fail to focus on the core ideology of the Nazis is because the ideology is consistent across Western Europe. The ideology of the Nazis is the same of as the elites in the US. It's almost identical and indistinguishable between the methods used in Africa and everywhere else. A lot of times, white people essentially try to assert that what happened in Nazi Germany was a unique phenomenon, that it was somehow Europeans or a European nation going off, somehow going awry. But if you look at this particular documentary, The Architecture of Doom, it demonstrates that actually the Nazis were not only not unique amongst Europeans, they were very consistent with Europeans in their thought processes and their methodology. What really sets the Europeans, the German Nazi Party, apart from the American founding fathers or the British Empire or the French colonialists, what sets them apart is, number one, they internalize that the empire that the Germans attempted to build was within the confines of Europe, whereas the empires that other Europeans built were in Africa, Asia, the so-called New World, the Caribbean. So it was an internalized European colonization as opposed to an externalized European colonization. And another unique feature of the Germans is that they had the benefit of industrial society and industrial development to carry out their internal colonizations, whereas Europeans didn't have the benefit of a modern industrial infrastructure to carry out their. But other than that, the rationale, the methods, the ideology, the motivations, and the sought outcomes of Lebensraum, it's really consistent. So you can look at that. You can look at The Architecture of Doom and see the architecture of our doom. You can see the architecture of African people's doom within the United States. When they talk about the art, how they said that Europeans said that the Germans said that the Jews create degenerate art, and their degenerate art is causing the moral decay of the whole society. And when you look at hip hop and mainstream black commercialized or exploitation of what is termed to be black culture, you'll see a lot of white people, mainstream liberals and conservatives, making the same assertions. So anyway, that's a lot to say. I hope I've sold you on it, that this is one of my favorite documentaries. The first one. Okay. So that was Sister Rain. She might be here soon. So that's what I would say is one. Let me give you one more of my favorite documentaries. This one's kind of hard to find. It used to be everywhere. But I might set up like a Discord server, because where I can share these things in book lists. But I'm not going to give this one because I find it so hard to find this documentary. I hate going to Amazon, but to save time, I'm just going to go to Amazon. But this is it. And normally I don't share links on Amazon, but you can find it other places when you have more time. It's this eating documentary. It's very good, well sourced. This is apparently the 3rd edition. I haven't really seen. I think I saw the Rave Diet and Lifestyle, so I saw an older edition, but Eating 3rd edition is the biggest cause of disease, disability, and death in the U.S. So this is an interesting one because more African people, the number one killer of African people are chronic diseases directly related to our diets. So if you're into Black Lives Matter, and if you can't say that you support Black Lives Matter, if you don't support, Chef Rain is here. If you don't support holistic, and that's a good segue because our guest is here this evening. Chef Rain. You're supposed to be here. Where you at? Hey, sis. Thank you. I've been covering for you. I've been doing R&B for the audience. Can you turn me down on your side? Because I'm getting feedback.
What time is it there in Australia? You hear me?
Yes. Okay. I
think I turned you all the way down.
Yeah, just turn me off on your side. Just listen to me through the link, because then you'll get feedback. But anyway, yeah, I was just doing some R&B renditions just to keep everybody satisfied until you got here. So welcome. Uh-oh, you frozen? So anyway, can you hear me? Uh-oh, we're
I
having
can hear.
You can?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Good, good. All right. I was just saying I was singing some R&B renditions to keep everybody entertained. So, because I sing really well. And so anyway, welcome Chef Rain True with the cultured vegan to the Q&A with BroDiallo. I was actually answering questions about some documentaries. So I was
I
just
can hear
giving
you.
some. Okay, good. It's probably a delay. Are you in the city or are you in Chicago?
Who?
You. Yeah.
Me?
Rain? Yeah.
It's delayed. I'm in Illinois still. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, wonderful, wonderful. Because I know you get around.
I was supposed to be in New Orleans last week, but with the hurricane and everything, it
Yeah.
pushed everything back.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you're here and safe. As safe as you can be in Chicago. As safe as Chicago. That's a weird thing to say. I'm glad you're safe here in Chicago.
Oh, you know what? That was
What?
me. I'm sorry. Okay, that was me. I turned it off. I had clicked the first link. It was still open. That's why we was getting all
Oh,
that extra. It was still
okay.
open. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
So it should be gone now, right?
I don't hear it anymore. Yeah, it's fine. It's
Okay.
clear on my
Okay,
end.
good.
I was just saying
Okay.
I'm glad you're here safe in Chicago.
Yes. Thank you.
As safe as you can be in Chicago.
Right.
But I know you get around. That's why I didn't know when I'm talking to you. You could be anywhere. I know the streets say they say you. I say what they say. You for the streets. I don't know. I don't.
Basically.
But yeah, you're a cultured woman of
I
a
am.
worldly cultured, world traveled woman. So we really look forward. So let's just get into the Q&A. We're a little bit behind, but we're gonna catch up. So
Okay.
basically, our listeners ask questions. I read them off, and then you answer them wholly and completely with peer review and documented supports for your answer. Easy
Okay.
stuff. Okay, so the first
Right.
question from Zamaya is: are you into African food since most of them are vegan based?
Absolutely. Yes, especially Ethiopian food, which is very, very vegan friendly. A lot of lentils, beans, vegetables. And then if you go to certain Ethiopian places, they don't use butter. And I love veganizing African foods too, like egusi, which is like the melon seed with the spinach, or you can use kale, and just omitting the animal products. But yeah, a lot of African foods are actually already vegan friendly naturally.
Yeah. Same here. I would have to say Ethiopian is probably my favorite food. My favorite Ethiopian restaurant is in Kansas City, the Blue Nile. Shout out to
Oh,
Daniel
I've
and
been there.
Salam.
I've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
there.
Please say hi
Yes.
to Daniel and Salam when you're there. Good friends of mine, known them for 2 decades. But here, if you had to say here, it would be Ethiopian Diamond. I really like
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Yeah.
fufu and yeah. So yeah, and most African foods are mostly plant based and
Hmm.
or can be converted as such. Even though my African brothers and sisters, my good brother Shehu, they whenever I mention veganism to them, they want to cuss me out and say,
Because they let them go for sure.
yeah, yeah. So my African homies want to debate that thing that most are vegan based, and but anyway, we're going to continue to work to veganize the continent, our motherland. So that is a big fat yes. Um, what is your take on Biden's new 3.5 trillion infrastructure bill?
I'm gonna let you answer
Um,
that.
that infrastructure bill is white welfare. Forget the amount of money that's spent. You have to look on who gets those contracts and who's in a position. The federal grant pipeline is one of the biggest sources of fraud and welfare. So I think that the infrastructure bill will just do just like the COVID recovery bill, just like the housing recovery bill under Bill Clinton, just like the economic recovery that was done during the Bush collapse. After 9/11, there was another stimulus. The vast majority of these stimulus bills, these funding bills, are pretty much capitalist welfare or corporate welfare. So what I think is the vast majority of that will, for every dollar that goes to infrastructure, there's going to be $10 to $100 that goes into the bank accounts or goes towards inflating the stock value of multinational corporations. Just like all the bills, you can go back several administrations to look. I think the last time there was actually a stimulus bill or an economic stimulus or an economic infrastructure bill that truly did work and improve the lives of working class people, you'd have to go all the way back to the 1940s with the FDR administration, or go back to the Great Society programs under LBJ. But since then, capitalists and the lobbyists are very good at creating. It's basically open. They go in and lobby legal bribery, and then they have these bills put out for infrastructure, but often like I said, you may get some bridges repaired, you may get some solar panels installed, but the vast majority of that money will go into the private bank accounts of the capitalist elite, the parasitic class. And that's my problem with that. And you also notice that those bills, they don't have provisions in there for corruption and profit taking to criminalize that behavior. So that's what I think of it. I ain't about to dance in the street over nothing Biden does, especially this infrastructure bill. All right. So Tito also said the German Holocaust was built on the genocide of the Herero in Namibia. Yes, and a much bigger body count. We were talking about the Holocaust before you got here. Sorry. And Chauncey giving some love and support. Okay, where are we? Also, what's going on in Texas with the anti-abortion legislation that recently passed? I promise the next question will be a vegan question.
I'm like, I'm not touching.
Are you pro-life? Are you pro-life?
I am pro-choice. I'm pro-choice. Honestly, I'm pro-choice. I mean, you know, me personally, I personally would not do it, but you know, I just
okay. Well, I'm pro-abortion. I'm not even pro-choice. I'm very enthusiastically pro-abortion. There is a direct correlation between the level of justice and mobility and fairness in a society and abortion laws and nations that permit abortion laws. And I firmly and abortion. The number one abortionist in the world is God. You know, a good quarter of all pregnancies end in what is sometimes called a medical or spontaneous abortion or miscarriage. And so the religious people that claim that God wants every fertilized fetus to come to fruition, God is the number one provider. So just
you ain't saying that wrong.
An egg is fertilized does not mean that God has ordained that to become a whole person. And also fetal or fertilized egg personhood is an absurd concept, and abortion has always been present in all societies dating back to antiquity. Since human beings had the capacity for pregnancy, there has been abortions. So there's no way to outlaw abortions. The only two choices you have is whether having safe access to abortion or unsafe hidden access to abortion. That's the only choice, because even the societies where abortions are illegal, they still performed. So prohibition, just like the alcohol prohibition or whatever other prohibitions you've seen, prohibitions don't work in a society, especially in a so-called free society. So you have to give people the tools. And the number one way to prevent abortions, because there's I think the Scandinavian nations have free abortions. They have the most liberal abortion laws, and the government pays for abortions. but they have the lowest abortion rate because they also have free and open access to contraception, and they have comprehensive sex education through the schools. So even though they have abortions on demand for free without apology, they have a much lower, more than 6 times lower abortion rate in those countries where it's free than here. So if they really wanted to save or prevent abortions, they would give comprehensive sex education and comprehensive free access to safe contraception. So it's insincere. The abortion law is not about preventing abortion. It's about controlling and dictating to women. And really, there's this concept of the quiverful, where the white replacement theory. So these white people are becoming insecure because they're being, quote unquote, outbred by the mud people or the unfit people. So it's a lot of ugliness. And for the black people that support that bill, thinking that they're going to save the black race, that's a whole nother topic. But I'll leave it at that. I'm pro-abortion. I don't even like this pro-choice, it's pro-abortion, and I'm pro-abortion, and I don't think people should apologize. And they always like, well, what about rape and incest? I don't like when they you say, what about rape? No, what about a girl goes out, get a little too tipsy, and then gets careless? She shouldn't have to apologize. It don't just have to be an extreme sympathetic case. It's her body.
I agree. You're right.
So that's my take on it. I get in trouble with a lot of Afrocentrics on that because they want to quantity over quality as far as black people are concerned.
Yeah, okay. I definitely ain't there.
And I like your approach. If you don't support, you have a right to have or not to have one, but you don't have a right. To it's a constitutional right. So on top of that, Stephanie, hey, Steph, Castillo asks, can you tell us a little about your vegan journey? For instance, what made you become vegan?
Okay, so yes, as a child, I always had a connection to animals. 6 years old, I had a connection, and even before I knew what it meant to be vegan, and my mom was a single parent after my mom and father divorced, so she was working all the time. I was cooking like very, very young. So I was making dishes, but I was like doing big bowls of spinach and just a whole bunch of different side items, and somehow I made the connection. At 6, my mom used to give me drumsticks. Oh, I remember like yesterday. And I would always pick it apart all the time. And I remember one time I pulled it apart, and on the bone, it was like purple. It was like purplish. And I remember like screaming. I was just like so disgusted. I guess it wasn't cooked all the way or something. I don't know what it was, but I started screaming. We were at my grandmother's house. And my mother runs in the kitchen, and I'm like, something's wrong. Is it got a bone? I got a bone. I'm touching my wrist. I'm like, and so she's like, just eat the chicken, just eat it. And I'm like, I can't. And so after that, like, I didn't eat it anymore. I started stuffing. I don't know if you remember the old school chairs that had the cushions in the kitchen from back in the day. It was like a square. I cut a slit in the side of it. And when my mom used to give me the chicken, I used to stuff it in the side of the cushion. And and so one time it would start stinking real bad. So I ended up getting in trouble. They ended up finding the chicken in there. And I remember that chair too. I remember the color and everything. And after that, I just was responsible for a lot of the food I was eating. So I was eating cereal, and I was just eating dry cereal, spinach. And to the point where as I started getting older and older, I started learning how to cook like actual food. But I would never cook meat. If we would go to family events, I would eat sides. I would just eat the sides. And as I started getting older and start really understanding and identifying with it, it just became more like embedded into who I was. I knew at 6 I wanted to be a chef. I knew I wanted to cook. I knew I wanted to be in the culinary industry. And so all throughout like middle school, high school, I started entertaining people. And I was just doing stuff without meat. People couldn't believe it. Like, so if people wanted to order like chicken and stuff, they would be able to order it. But I started my business as a sophomore in high school. I was doing dinner parties for sailors that couldn't go home for the holidays. And I was just doing all vegan stuff. Again, at this time, I didn't even know what it was called. I knew how to turn lentils into sausage and all these different things I used to just know how to do. I did end up going to culinary school as well. And through culinary school, even with that, I went to Le Cordon Bleu, which is they cook nothing but meat, quail, and I was getting waivers for stuff, and I was getting waivers from the chefs. I was just like, I'm a likable person, so I'm literally going through all these meat classes with not even cooking nothing. It was crazy. I don't even know how I did it now looking back on it, but I was just, I had the gift of gab, you know. So, and then, you know, I just kept going, and as veganism started becoming more common,
Right.
it was like beautiful to me because I'm like, wow, this is what I've been doing all this time. Before I was just doing it, but then when I really started learning and taking the time to study and understand and started meeting more like-minded people, once I got introduced to Hyde Park, I was like, wow. I'm like, okay, I'll start meeting, you know, different people in the community and the poetry scene. And I'm like, oh wow, there's other people that are vegan too. And it just kind of went, it kind of just went from there, you know.
That's really interesting. You know, I became vegan by way of animal rights and animal liberation. I had stopped eating pork. Well, I was raised in the Midwest. I was raised eating chitlins, hog mogs, head cheese, scrapple, squirrel meat, possum meat.
What's Scrapple?
Scrapple? You see, y'all upper class colored folks. Scrapple is you go into a southern or a midwestern market and there's a bucket with brine or vinegar in it, and there are meat scraps in there. And you take a big ladle and you put it in a bag or a plastic bucket and you take it up and they weigh it. And that's meat scraps from various parts of various animals. And you cook it up in a stew. I mean, you put it in stew to season it, you know, and stuff like that. It was called scrapple. And you can't say what it is because it's always something different depending on where you are. But it's meat scraps used to season a stew, to put in a soup or something. Some people would make pies with it. My grandmother never did.
Really? You know? Pie? I'm gonna have to research that. Yeah, I'm not gonna read it, but I just would like to know.
Yeah, he would go out in the bush and get deer, possums, and raccoons. But I guess back then, you know, the environment maybe was less toxic. But you know, yeah, I remember eating meat, and you have to bite down on the buckshot and be like, "Oh, that they used to shoot the animal with." So
wait, the buckshot was in it still?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
Wow.
Sometimes. Yeah,
and that was in Kansas, right?
In Kansas and Missouri, you know, sometimes down on the Tennessee. But I still got, you know, my Facebook friends. They go hunting, and they put on dudes I grew up with. They'll take their dead deer into the garage and, you know, gut it, take the intestines out, and stuff like that.
In the garage.
Yeah, and I'd go fishing with my friends and stuff, and I would cast my line without a hook on it. I would just put, you know, the bait on there and just throw it without a hook to feed. I'd be there feeding fish. I literally have never caught a fish. I've been fishing dozens of times. I've always had an affinity for animals, but I never connected that to diet until I started getting more educated. But I was the dude that used to feed all the stray cats in the projects. And people
I had a squirrel. I had a squirrel at the park that I used to feed all the time. Lay's potato chips. I remember, like legit. That's so
yeah, I had my homeboys telling you be out there with no shirt on and sagging pants, out there feeding cats. And my homeboy was like, when I first met you, I'm like, what's this dude? This dude is a horrible person. What is he doing? He was like, and I saw you feeding cats, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, yeah, I used to feed the cats around the projects, used to congregate around our housing unit. And but I initially stopped eating pork because I didn't know you couldn't. I thought if you didn't eat these foods, you would die. So I read How to Eat to Live and Message to a Black Man.
Great
so
book.
And I started like reading the 5% and Nation of Gods and Earth Propaganda.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so I can go without eating pork. And so then I'm like, oh, I can. But then as I learned more, I read Professor Arnold Ehret, Mucusless Diet Healing Systems, and some of Gary Knowles' book. So then when I found out that you could sustain yourself without eating meat, I immediately gave it up because I never even had any type of concept of diet being related to health. And I had no concept of that a human being could sustain themselves off of without any type of animal byproducts or animal excretions. So when I
Mm-hmm.
learned that and I read and saw that that was possible, I think in 91, 92, I became a full vegan. And but my main motivation wasn't even because I would eat mad junk food. Um,
It
I'd eat,
had nothing to do with health,
right, yeah,
huh?
I would eat. I was the world's worst vegan, but I did it out of support for animal rights and my opposition to animal exploitation and animal liberation was my main motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I started trying to eat healthier as well. I was one of the like they would call like a Twizzler vegan, or Oreo cookie vegan. I still am. I ain't gonna lie, but at least I know better.
Yeah, I
I'm not
mean,
doing better,
shoot.
but I know better. Like before I
But
called you, I
see, so I remember one time when I was young, I had cracked the egg and it was full with blood, and I was just like, that was part of the journey of me, like, ew, like I didn't
yeah,
even.
yeah,
And
it's
even though my mom wasn't vegan, my dad wasn't vegan, but you know what I'm saying? Just
right.
me, like I've always been unique, even as a child. I've always been unique and kind of ahead of the game of just everybody that I was around. So it was not, yeah, it was something that I was just like, wow, okay.
Yeah, and I immediately went into like crusader mode, like trying to liberate, argue for the liberation of animals, and every time I would join a black liberation, black political movement or organization, I would always try to inject that into it. Like, what about the animals? And back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, there was that movie Free Willy when I was a kid. And they would always tell me, man, we ain't trying to free Willie. The whale, we trying to free Willie Jenkins. And you worried about these damn animals. And I'm like, you can't have, human liberation, any form of human liberation without animal liberation. So people would get
Mm-hmm.
on me with that. So I've been always pushing that. But yeah, so yeah, it was almost like overnight for me when I found out that I could sustain myself without consuming, the flesh of animals or the secretions of animals. I immediately like, oh wow, I wish I had known sooner. And I haven't looked back
And
since
I think back then,
1992.
back then, all that really there was Boca burgers back then, like the Dr. Prager's and the Boca burgers. Before like this big wave of vegan stuff has come. Now you go in the store and this whole aisles are just like
Yeah,
vegan stuff.
yeah, these
Like
young
it's
punk
so
losers,
crazy
they don't know
still.
how it was. They have no
They
idea the
don't. They
struggle.
don't. None. Like seriously, none. So
They have
now,
no.
even now, mhm. I'm sorry.
I
Go
used
ahead.
to. There used to be this store called Back to the Land, and they had no packaging. So everything you bought, you had to get out of these giant boxes and containers. So you would come in and it was frowned upon. You were supposed to bring your own Michelin bags and I go get your beans and your rice. And then you had to like pump your own soy milk into a small, it was the weirdest thing, like a packaged vegan. I lived in the projects and Back to the Land was in the whitest part of town. So I had to take the bus over there and I'm walking back to the projects with all these bags of food. You know, it was hard until I joined the park. Shout out to the Park Slope Food Co-op. That's when things got easy. That's the first time I was like, okay, I can,
In New
you
York?
know, yeah, I was
Oh,
there for
okay. I was like, wait,
yeah,
works on
yeah.
you?
That's when I first was able to just walk like a civilized man and get a package and get a product and put it in a basket and shop like a human instead of, walking this bohemian hippie shit that I used to have to deal with in Missouri because that was the only source
I
of
remember the very first time I found out about vegan pizza was in Hyde Park at Leona's. I didn't even know that there was like vegan cheese pizza. Like, it was like, wow.
I
Because
mean, vegan cheese.
the vegan cheese
It
from
was
back
like
in the day was like oil and water. It was so
it was like
nasty.
pureed cashews. Somebody would take some cashews and smash them into a paste and be like, "Would you like cheese on your burger?" Like now, it's like, shut up, you know. So vegan peanut butter cups. I thought I'd never eat a peanut butter cup. Every day when I was in junior high school, in my early high school, I'd go in and get like 4 packages of Reese's peanut butter cups. I thought my life was over because I'm like, man, I can't eat peanut butter cups anymore. And now they got like 50 different brands. So yeah, it's all good. Y'all, it's so easy now.
It
But
really is.
I haven't looked back. I've never regretted it, and I've never looked back since 1992.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. Let's see. Andy asks, "Hey Diallo, have you ever heard Hitler was a vegan? Attacks to delegitimize it. You ever heard that Hitler was a vegan?
Yeah, I did hear that, but that he was a vegan attacks to delegate to
So you
delegate
think
spies.
Hitler's veganism delegitimizes we're a bunch of Nazis?
Nah.
Well, in actuality, not only have I heard that, I did a whole broadcast on my radio show called Hitler Was a Hipster. Hitler wasn't just a vegan. He was very loving of animals. He had a German Shepherd that he had trained that it was always a constant companion. Hitler had one of the best environmental programs and reforestation programs in Germany, and he did a lot to restore a lot of Germany's natural fauna. Hitler had a very strong push for public health. It was part of his eugenics program, but public and free socialized medicine. But I argued that to try to tell black folks that just because a white person comes up to you and it says, well, I'm vegan, I'm pro environment, don't mean they can't still sustain their dominance and their genocidal agendas. In fact, a
Absolutely.
lot of their genocidal rationality, that Malthusian mentality saying there's too many humans and we need to, in order to restore habitats, we have to wipe out large segments of humanity. So yeah, I don't think it delegitimizes veganism. I think it should make us aware that just because a person adopts certain good qualities doesn't mean that you shouldn't evaluate them overall. And even if you as a person adopts some good practices such as veganism, you still have to check your overall ideology, your overall motivations and tactics, because but a lot of times you'll find somebody who gets one good thing. I'm pro this, or I'm anti-Trump, therefore I'm not a racist. Yeah, or I'm pro-vegan, therefore I'm pro-humanity, or I'm pro-animals. No, so yeah, I'm sure. But anybody that uses that to delegitimize veganism, he was also pro Catholic Church and Christianity. He was also pro capitalism. So there's a lot of things that if you don't want to be the opposite of Hitler, there's a lot of shit you got to give up before you give up veganism. So
He said that's just the one thing.
right. And during the height of the campaign, he did stop his veganism. When Germany started having to ration fuel and foods, he started a diet of almost exclusively meat, dried jerky and things. And when they went into the bunker, there's a book called The Concise Biography of Hitler that talks specifically about his diet. He was not a vegan. I would say he was more of a vegetarian. He was not really animal liberation or animal rights. He was more of a plant-based diet. But he, at the time of his death and during his the execution of his Kampf, Mein Kampf, his dream to carry out to secure Lebensraum, he actually ate meat. So he was spent more of his years as a meat eater than a vegetarian. So Hitler ate meat more than he ate. So we less Hitler than the meat eaters. We just they a lot of Hitler. But you can read about his dietary practices when he gave up meat or when he went back to eating meat and eating like dried jerky, beef jerky, and things of that nature in The Concise Biography of Hitler. So, is there a difference between those who go vegan due to animal abuse and those who went vegan just for personal health reasons?
Oh, is there a difference? Yeah, I do think so. I see it a lot in the groups. I have two large scale vegan groups with about 50,000 people in it collectively. And yeah, it becomes a thing of almost you're not a good enough vegan if you are vegan, but you don't care about the animals. I think more so people make it a big difference, not necessarily within the scope or rules of veganism, but I think people turn that into a problem. Like, so say for instance, if someone posts pictures of a vegan Big Mac or something, People like, oh, well, why are you eating that? You don't care about this or that, or why do you want it to look like meat? You might as well eat meat if you're gonna eat things that resemble it. And they're like, well, I'm not vegan for the animals. I'm vegan for because I just don't want to eat meat. And so it's a big debate that I see often, kind of quite often actually. And to be honest with you, I see it more between Black vegans and white vegans a lot in the groups I'm in. I'm in probably about 50 different vegan groups online. So I think that would be the only difference, is that people make it, that people get this superiority type of like complex, feeling like, okay, well, you eat this, or they feel like if they've gotten to a certain level and you're like, yo, like they're like, well, I'm a breatharian. Like, well, yo, that ain't even the right air you breathing. And, or I'm a, I hope that answers your question. I mean, I don't know. What's your opinion, Diallo?
I don't think you're a vegan if you don't support animal rights and animal liberation. I think that you have to support animal rights and animal liberation to be defined as a vegan, because that is.
So I am, though. So I am, just to be clear, so y'all know, I am.
So, yeah, I just probably be over there huddled up with the white people, swaying with the white arms, swaying by y'all. Because,
not y'all, because I'm an animal rights person. I was mercy for animals, all of that. So yeah.
Right, and I think there's a difference also, because vegans, before I became a vegan, I was an avid horseback rider. I used to go to the stables in Missouri and ride the trail over by Bannister Ranch, and I used to ride quarter horses through the trails in Missouri. And I don't ride, before I became a vegan, I would go to circuses and go to zoos.
I don't go to
I had the money, I would go to, like, maybe I would have went to SeaWorld and enjoyed myself. I don't know, but I became very conscientious about consuming not just the flesh of animals, but products made from the exploitation and harming of animals, and also consuming entertainment that exploits or abuses animals. So I think if you leave that element out, and I also think it's a contradiction if you're a vegan for health purposes, but you don't pay attention to the ecosystem destruction and habitat destruction and the loss of biodiversity in your environment, then you can eat all the healthy green veggies you want, drink all the chlorophyll you want, but if you're standing on the middle of a toxic waste dump, if there are no more insects to pollinate, if there are no more predators to prey upon the and just the overall fauna and environment, then it suits your interest to be able to sustain yourself. If humans live in harmony with our biosphere, as opposed to try to dominate or hyper exploit the biosphere. So I don't argue. I champion anyone adopting a vegan diet because of, from everything from reduced carbon emission to lower rates of chronic disease, and they put more money into the vegan businesses and things of that nature. So I celebrate anyone adopting a vegan diet. I don't think I am. I'm better than people who just eat vegan for strictly health but neglect animal wealth. But I don't know how people dwell with that contradiction. I really don't know how you can think that you can be personally or individually healthy consuming a diet, whereas because you don't just eat, you also live in an ecosystem, you live in an environment.
So I think the reason that has taken place, because I'll tell you something, like when I first started out, like even just the things I was involved in, they're different than they are now. And it's because veganism has become this big mainstream. Celebrities are doing it. People are doing, let's take this challenge. Let's take this. So it's become so common now for so many people that, so I have a questionnaire when people join my group. They have to answer like, why are they vegan? And so people write like, oh, I'm trying it out. Or, some of the answers are kind of interesting that I'm reading. And so I think a lot of times people, they're just kind of like, well, I'm just not going to eat meat and that's just going to be it. Or, a celebrity is doing it, I want to do it too, to kind of be, it's a lot of followers. There's a lot of people that just want to do stuff because other people are doing it. But they don't want to take the time to learn and they're like, well, I'm getting fat, and it's like, because you don't even, you're just trying to jump on the bandwagon.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I found that with helping people to transition to a vegan diet, I found that giving them the broader understanding helps them to endure the transition better than just,
mm-hmm.
well, I'm doing this just to be healthy. A lot of times when you're transitioning from a meat-based diet, you go through a lot of physiological changes, cold sweats and breaking out of your skin and digestive issues. But when you have it just like, oh, I'm just doing this for my own personal health versus I'm doing this for a larger, purpose and to adopt and embrace a larger value system, I found that those who understand the animal rights and animal liberation components and environmental and ecological components of veganism have more of a chance of sustaining the lifestyle, as opposed to those who's just saying, I'm trying to fit into this dress or I'm trying to get my six-pack back.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Like, we don't do zoos, we don't do circuses, like, even the animals that we have, we get them from the rescue, like, we got guinea pigs from the guinea pig rescue. Like, who would
Right.
ever really thought that these things exist, like, there are things that exist specifically to get more of a, connected, to be more connected to this lifestyle.
Harmony, right. In harmony, right. So, okay. James says kids grow up not liking meat initially. Adults make them eat it.
Kids grow up not liking meat initially. I don't really know that one. My kids grew up vegan. So I have a 23-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And so they consume what I, made for them. So I don't know. I don't know how are your kids grow up vegan also, correct?
Yeah. I have a 19 and a 13-year-old. They've been vegan from birth.
Yeah,
Since
so yeah.
But it would probably be easy. You get a newborn who's just transitioning to solid foods, and you put a slab of a dead animal carcass and a basket of strawberries and see which one they crawl towards. But we know physiologically that children gravitate or are more receptive to a plant-based diet in infancy and development than they are to a meat-based diet. And vegan babies, in terms of inner ear issues and things of that nature, a lot of ailments that afflict babies. We know that human breast milk is much healthier for offspring than animal secretions. So
it's making me think of people that their argument is like, you already know I'm about to say, oh, you breastfed your baby's not vegan. Like, wait, what? Like, if
what?
yes, I'm telling, I hear it all. It's people
Really?
interested. Yes.
You
That's
hear
a
that
big,
from vegans?
yes.
Word?
Yeah.
That's white
Yeah.
vegan. That's them white
Yeah,
vegan.
yeah. No, it is. I'm like, wait, what? Well, if you breastfed your
Wow.
baby, yes, like, because you're a
What do
mammal
they
and you have
suggest
mammary.
that you do with your milk? But herbivores breastfeed.
Listen, they like, because
Herbivores,
I'm
huh?
telling you, because they're like, humans are mammals, and if you like, seriously,
Humans
yeah.
are mammals, and mammals do produce milk. So there's no. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But I get
yeah,
it. Better to be
yeah,
a vegan extremist. I'd rather deal with vegan extremists than any other type of extremists.
yeah. I
Everybody
agree.
is right. I rather so. But anyway, yeah. I encourage to go vegan. Y'all sound bougie when you say you eat Ethiopian. Probably because I only heard white people say that in the past.
I'll be that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you go. Cause like there's this Ethiopian restaurant in Oakland, and it's black as hell. It's very black. But some you go to, they do be a lot of white folks there.
They love it. They
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I used to see that too. Like when I go to Milwaukee, when I first started going, I was like, man, it ain't never no black people in here. I was like, I don't care.
Milwaukee sucks.
Huh?
Milwaukee sucks.
It does. It
You
really.
know, they literally ran me out of that town with pitchforks and torches, like old school. I
What?
was like Frankenstein. Yeah, they ran me out of town. I'm not lying, but I ain't even gonna tell the story.
You gotta tell me that
I
story
did
one
get an
day. I need to hear
apology.
that.
Huh? Yeah, I did
I need
get
to
an
hear that
apology.
story one day.
It's a quick. There was a festival there, and we went there to set up to vend at the festival, but they didn't like our politics, so they claimed that we didn't have the right paperwork. So we was like, yeah, we did the thing and stand up because they wanted just love and peace festival, and we were there promoting Pan Africanism, and so on and so forth. But they wanted to kick me out of my booth, and the woman said, I said, I have my paperwork and the receipt. And she was like, well, we got to have your stuff on file. So she went back to the file cabinet and claimed that she lost our paperwork or something. And I just got tired of fighting and packed up and left. And it wasn't my last time. I said it was going to be my last time ever coming. And I went there to do some research on urban agriculture and inner city gardens, and to interview some people working on urban agriculture activism. So I went back a second time, even though I vowed to never go there again. So James says, so she learned how to create vegan sausage without instructions.
Yep, I did. Yep. A lot of the stuff I learned how to cook as a child, it was just an innate ability. I just learned. I tried different things. Shoot, I learned how to make little cakes and cookies. I mean, yeah, absolutely, with no instruction.
Wow.
It's like a painter, some people can paint and they have never been to a class, never had a teacher, and they can draw stuff that, looks exactly like what they see.
I have no natural talents. I have to work for every little thing. I have to work and struggle for.
Yeah. This is natural.
Yeah. What is?
What you doing right now?
I didn't even learn how to talk. You know how many hours of public speaking, and I used to do theater. I got a varsity letter in high school in theater and doing community theater and stuff to get on stage to talk in front of people. I'm a formally trained thespian.
Oh, okay.
So
okay. I did go get formal training though after too, because I wanted to learn technique and I wanted to, learn the business component of it. But I was doing it way before I even went to culinary school.
So yeah, nothing comes easy. I'm just not that person. I'm not blessed or highly favored.
Uh-oh.
I'm cursed and highly unfavored. I ain't mad at y'all naturally talented people. So next, Stephanie asks, what are some successful techniques or ways that you have helped family or friends transition to a vegan diet?
So for me, and some vegans have been so upset with me with my approach, but my approach, especially because I work with a lot of older seniors and stuff, and my approach is very different than most people. So for me, I can't go tell Mr. Johnson that been eating chicken and pork and fish for 60 something years. Okay, Mr. Johnson, we're not going to eat meat today. We're just going to cut it out. So my gradual way is, okay, Mr. Johnson, we're not going to fry this chicken today. We're going to bake it today. And then, okay, let's do one day with no meat. So let's pick a day, Monday, whatever. And now we're going to eliminate meat completely. Oh, hey, look at this. Let me show you about these crumbles. Let me make you. And so that's the way I kind of ease them into it, and show them different things that they can do with stuff that they already are used to eating. So, hey, like I said, I go back to lentils because lentils are very common, something that a lot of people know. Beans, a lot of beans. I use a lot of bean dishes to kind of ease people into it because beans are filling. They're very versatile. And they still can get that protein and the fat and all that from those ingredients. So my approach is just slow, try to set people up for success instead of failure, because I think some people can go cold turkey and some people, they have to be gradually introduced to it. And then I introduce people to a lot of cultural food. So Thai food, Thai Asian, a lot of, like you said, African food, Ethiopian food, different things like that. Indian food, people love that's one of my big things. Indian food and Ethiopian food are my two foods that I really go to a lot, to like bring people into the cycle, to the cipher, to the vegan cipher. And so that it actually works a lot because they're just so excited, like, man, oh man, can we go try that again? So that's kind of how I've done it, and just kind of educate people on the benefits in addition to the food. So I teach people by feeding.
Oh, did we lose you? You're freezing on us a little bit.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah, you just
Are you
froze
able to
up.
hear me?
Continue. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's my way. I feed people. I bring the food to the party, and they learn through my love of feeding people.
Well, that's been our way, with Dr. Mingo and I. We would do what we call make pedestrian vegan food. Vegan tacos, vegan cupcakes, and things of that nature that people are very familiar with. We try to make foods that are comfort foods and familiar foods when we had our restaurant. That's one tactic that I also like. But I also enjoy, just browbeating and harassing and demeaning people. I'm saying it works. I just say I like doing it. How bad they are and
Yeah.
how horrible what they're doing. But yeah, that's giving people familiar foods, vegan versions of their favorite foods, and show them that they can, still enjoy the same weight, texture, and flavors that they enjoy without the harming themselves and animals.
And it's funny because a lot of the events I do, so I kind of learned my audience, right? So if I'm going to a particular area, I know I can do quinoa, bulgur, and stuff like that. But if I'm going to another area, I know I can do, and I can do brown rice at that place. But this other area, I can't do brown rice and quinoa. I'm gonna have to do some white rice, maybe, or some mashed potatoes or something. And I just kind of understand and learn my audience. It's funny because a couple of events, actually a lot of events I do, people will be walking around. Maybe it's not a vegan event, but it's an event where there's a lot of my people there, melanated folk, black folk, and they'll be walking around, and maybe I'll have samples on the table, and they'll walk and they'll be looking, they'll see the food like, ooh, and then their eyes go down because I have my name and my business name on my tablecloth, and then they'll be looking, they'll be smiling. And then they'll look down and then they'll be like, oh, vegan. Oh, I can't do vegan. Oh, no, I can't do vegan. And then, and I'm like, okay, calm down, calm down. I'm like, hold on. And I'm like, so this is what I say. And this is what always gets them, right? So I'm like, okay, so you're vegan. I can't do no vegan food. I said, well, do you eat apples? Oh, yeah, apples good. You like bananas? Oh, man, I got one better. You like Oreo cookies? Oh yeah, I eat Oreo cookies. I said that's all vegan. What? Oh, I said, and I said on top of that, I bet. I said you talking about vegan, but I bet you got somebody in your family got high blood pressure, obese, or cancer. I know you. I bet you can name 3 people in your, and they be like, well, yeah. And it just it's all about like just bringing them to something familiar, even on that level, to the point of where they're relating to you now. They're like, well, wow. I didn't think about it like that. Dang, an apple is vegan. Oh, Cracker Jacks, those are vegan too. Like, yeah, this is stuff that you've been eating forever, and it's accidentally vegan. And so that's been a very good tool that I've used even in my presentations at different events. And when I put a list of all the stuff that's vegan up that they've been eating for all these years, and they're just shocked.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever converted a family member though?
So yes, my cousin, ironically, she's full raw now. She don't even eat cooked food no more. She is raw, and she done went full force. But yeah, yep.
Wow. See, my wife, she's converted relatives. I've converted a lot of people, but not one blood. People that sat across from me eating chitlins just won't. I have not. So if any of my relatives listening, you can be the first because I have not successfully converted.
Have you ever had a family member that has come to you after they've been like diagnosed or sick or something like?
See,
would you say again about CMOS? Would you say about that CMOS stuff again?
They do that every time. I ain't gonna name names, But every
Name
time
them. Name them all.
in the hospital, they want me to accompany them to the hospital. Can you come look at my chart? They want me. They want every time. I get the call when people sick, you know. But I don't get the call
Mm-hmm.
for the. I'm
They want you to be
uninvited
a
to the
miracle worker
cookout.
after, like
There you
you're
go.
like, no, they ain't laying no hands on
You
no
know who you are.
head.
And if I'm
Look.
right, if I'm lying, get on here and tell me I'm lying so I can tell your business too. Yeah, all my relatives, they always call me when it's something. But they never call me. I ain't lying, but I ain't been able to convince. That's the love. That's the thing they love. Like one time I went to my uncle, Reverend Carl, and he literally fed us seeds and berries. And he had seeds like sunflower seeds and berries like blackberries, like literally fed us. Like he had briskets and racks of ribs, and he was like, I ain't forgot you. I knew y'all was coming. I ain't forgot you. And gave us a tray of seeds and berries. And I'm like, this is legitimate. Like normally you joke, all y'all have for me is seeds and berries. I'm like, this is legit. Like I could plant this food and grow something with it. So that's how they do.
Yeah. And but you know what's crazy? When I go to events and I bring food, it'll be the first thing to go. I be so mad, like, wait a minute. Y'all talk all this stuff about nigga stuff, but y'all want to eat that first. Like that, you know?
I mean,
It's gonna be so
it's
irritating, man.
been many family gatherings where I'm ready to square up with my little niece. Like, hey, why you over here? I just saw you at the hot dog table. You over here eating all the tofu while you got all this other. Yeah, I be and my wife's like, let them enjoy it. They'll learn. I'm like, nope. But so yeah, same hardship. Kadir asked, ready for the food tropes of poverty and starvation. Point at Ethiopian. Oh, you talking to somebody else? He having a side conversation. James, let her talk. Oh, me. Go on, sis. I'll just.
We've been talking. I was
Am I stepping?
No, I thought we were conversing.
I thought it was a good flow, but James wanted to do okay, I'll back up a little bit.
Thanks, James Thompson. James Thompson about to raise up on you.
Yeah, he's a big dude too. You should see
is he? Ooh, let me see. Where's his picture at? Let me see.
No, I think he's married. Yeah, he's married.
Oh, shoot.
He's a big dude, so let me not even say
I'm 5'10", man. You know what I'm saying? Uh-oh.
Go ahead and get it.
Oh, you want to walk back? Hey, look, I know you hear my son here washing the dishes. I'm like, you want to wash the dishes right now? Like,
okay, Stephanie says, can you talk about white vegan spaces and their failure to recognize racism in relationship to oppression?
Yes, I can, because I get so tired of them relating to slavery to everything to do with veganism. I just be like, wait a minute, like, dang, it's interesting. I even see, so I have a vegan fest. I'm in the 4th year of it. It's called Midwest Vegan Fest. And I created it because I was very tired of traveling all over the country and going to Vegan Fest everywhere, Michigan, New York, all these different places. And we'd be high in attendance. I mean, Black people would be there high in attendance. And we had one token speaker. And I'm just like, I mean, it was all the time. Like, we would never be represented on the level of an expert level or someone really like teaching about something regarding veganism. And I always wonder why. Like, why are we never represented on that level? But we come and spend all our money. We travel from all over to come and support these events. And I really feel like that is a form of oppression. I really do. I feel like not allowing, Black people to be on that platform as an expert or as a panelist or as an XYZ. I do. I feel like why are you guys, completely excluding a group of people? You give us one, it's the lightest person, or it's John Sally, at every fest, and it's just kind of crazy to me. And racism, as far as the racism component, like when I'm in these groups and they're talking and discussing, like, the correlation between, black oppression and animal oppression, or racism and stuff, I lost my train of thought. My son is like over in my ear, just like he's cleaning the kitchen right now. I'm just like, I forgot where I was going with that.
You were saying the when they call caging animals is equivalent to caging Africans or slavery.
Yeah, and I had a good point, and yeah, I go ahead, finish. Go ahead and put it and go out.
Sure. All right. Well,
yeah.
Dick Gregory also said that. He said, when I look at how animals are treated, only one thing comes to mind: slavery. Dick Gregory also made that correlation to chattel slavery and animal commercial or industrial agriculture. Just say, one of our elders also supported that. But, I still do. I really support groups like Earth Liberation Front and the Militant Animal Liberation Front. But I have literally been to meetings and I've seen movements with my own eyes where white people would want to block the cattle cars and the trucks. Let's go and prevent them from accessing, getting the trucks into the slaughterhouse. And I
Did you see the one that just died?
Huh?
The one that just died in Milwaukee, like a couple weeks ago, when they were blocking the truck and she got ran over.
Right, and I would literally say, well, can we go to the juvenile detention center as well and block those prison buses from entering into the detention facility with children, incarcerated children? I mean, can we it's like literally you guys will surround a truck full of pigs and chickens, but you will see a truck full of incarcerated people, incarcerated Africans, and you will literally make way for the truck to take the black people off to incarceration while trying to lay down in front of the cattle truck. But then you will then turn around and say, well, industrial animal agriculture is like slavery. And I'm like, well, if it is, then why don't you fight modern day slavery the same way you fight industrial agriculture? So there's an inconsistency. If so, I would embrace white people if they said, well, you put animals in cages, it's just like slavery. I will support them if their behavior was consistent, but their behavior is inconsistent with that assertion.
So what has been some of the responses that they have said when you've said that to them?
All of a sudden they're like, oh no, that I'm the one that doesn't understand. And animals don't have voices. And say things like, well, an animal can't speak for itself, so we have to be the animal one. I guess
that's the number one response.
You niggas know how to talk the language, speak for yourself. So I'm like, well, then you can't make that equation, because I'm all for abolitionists. I mean, if you want to be William Lord Garrison, but you have to behave as though, okay, animal oppression is akin to human oppression, but you only focus on animal oppression, then you're not acting as though that's the case. So I would support white people saying that shit if they acted on that shit. If white people were laying down in front of prison buses the same way they're laying down in front of, and if the animal liberation people were cutting locks at the feedlots and they went to cut locks at prisons the same way, I'm like, well, you can't get mad at white folks because they're acting consistent with their assertion. But they act inconsistent with that assertion. That's why it is offensive and inappropriate for them to say,
Yeah.
But beyond that, but that's my position on it. If you're gonna talk about it, be about it.
Your friend in these comments got me cracking up. I'm sorry. Your friend.
What are you talking about?
Your friend James.
Oh. Will says, I was doing keto but decided to start using keto due to the health and environmental reasons. All right. Thank you, Will. Stephanie says she also rode horses. Yeah, riding horses is horrible, and there's no need to do it. I'm glad that people are becoming more aware of that. Horses are not.
Man, I get so sad like when I'm back in New Orleans and the horse carriages, there's so many and I just, oh my gosh, I just be so sad when I'm just watching them like, man, they got to carry all these people heavy, big old, like, it's just like, man, they just be looking so sad. And I be feeling so sad. Like,
And I joined the protest to stop the hand. They used to call them hansom cabs, to get the hansom cabs out of
mm-hmm.
Prospect and Central Park. And there's some guy here in Chicago that everybody loves, this urban cowboy dude that everybody loves.
I seen him.
That literally rides the damn horse up and down the highway. And everybody's like, yeah, the police are trying to stop it. It's racism. And I'm like, man, fuck that dude. Horses have more than 4 times the lung capacity of human. And the horses that are used to for such work have like 1/3 to 1/4 the life expectancy of horses that are allowed to live, out in pastures or in their natural habitat. It is damaging to the horse physiologically and physically. And I don't know where they just made some movie with Idris Elba with a urban cowboy.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
I don't like that urban cowboy, and people get mad at me because everybody thinks this urban cowboy abusing this horse up and down the street is somehow a hero, and I'm like, how? What?
Right?
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I seen that movie. It's supposed to be based on a true story in Philly and all that. Like, I seen it. I was just like,
oh. I've been looking to join a vegan group. Can you send me the links to your stuff?
I can.
So send that to me. Not now.
Yeah. Okay.
but when we're done, let's see. Okay, here we go. Kawhi Joe Danso asks, isn't protein deficiency the #1 cause of vegan mortality?
I thought it was bean overload. I ain't know. Yeah, I've never ever heard that. Yeah. Where'd you hear that at?
I think he's joking. I think he's kidding.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In fact, I worked in healthcare for 14 years. I worked in trauma centers. I worked in recovery centers. I even worked in prison infirmaries. And in all my years, I've never seen an incident of protein deficiency ever. I've seen a lot of diseases, chronic and acute injuries and sicknesses, and I've never encountered one incident of protein deficiency. So, and the thing we don't know about protein is protein synthesis and things, but I'm not going to get into that. But meat is not the best, because when you consume protein, you have to look at the bioavailability of protein. So even though meat has a high concentration of protein, the bioavailability of that protein to a human's physiology, digestive tract, is relatively limited because we don't masticate, we cook the food, and then we eat the food, and we have the digestive system where we can better extract the protein or the what do they call what are the strings that make up the carbohydrates and protein synthesis. We can do it better from plants. So no, that is not the major cause of vegan mortality. Okay, James, the vegan cupcakes are on Swole and good. Right on. Yeah. Thank you. It's me sharing the website for the Culture Vegan. But all the contact information, I'll get it and put it in the comments. Taylor states, family members are hard, get to go vegan. Plenty of heart disease in my family, but people don't want to hear about their bad habits.
They don't. I remember when my mom was in the hospital on her last couple of days, and my cousin brought my mom. I mean, I guess he figured it was the end, but burgers, milkshakes, McDonald's. My aunt brought her pork chops, and I was just like, she hadn't been eating none of this stuff, like none of it, I had been, feeding her. She'd been doing smoothies, green juices, and everything, and I was just so disappointed. Like, they don't want to hear about it until after they're diagnosed, after their doctor tells them,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my grandmother went. She became vegetarian for a short amount of time, but she went back to a standard a diet. But she lived to be 91. And you always get the people's like, I got a grandma who ate everything. Grandma, she used to smoke those long black Moore cigarettes. And I got a relative, she smoked, she drank, and she ate pork her entire life. And she lived to be 91. And I got one of those relatives. I got a grandmother who lived to be 91, eating the flesh of dead animals. In her youth, she smoked and do her little sippy sip. But they don't talk about her brother who died of cancer.
Mississippi Sim.
They don't talk about my grandmother outlived two of her sons, both died of chronic disease, diabetes, or my grandmother's oldest son, she outlived by almost 20 years, had went blind and had double amputation through diabetes. So statistically, I do have, they point to that one relative and ignore the massive relatives that they have who didn't win the biological or genetic lottery to be able to eat an unsustainable diet and thrive on it.
Listen, when my mom was first diagnosed with cancer, the very first time in the initial stages, I put her on a complete vegan diet, plant-based vegan diet, well, plant-based diet. Like I said, juices, fresh juice. Man, the doctors was asking like, "What are you doing? Wow, what are like?" They were so impressed. They just didn't understand how things had changed. So my mom was in stage 4 when they found out. And I mean, she was losing weight. She was so vibrant. And I really, honestly, I ain't gonna lie. I feel like sometimes people are jealous when they see family members or people close to them that they used to be able to eat bad with. And hey, let's go to brunch and let's go to crab legs on Sunday at the casino. And I feel like people feel like you're leaving them. You're kind of like, and food is it reminds you of your grandma, or it reminds you of family members. So you feel like you're kind of like, what am I trying to say? Like you feel like you're denouncing your tradition or your family by not consuming and doing the things that they're doing because people bond over chitlins, washing chitlins and cleaning them and cooking them. People bond over that. Like as
Yeah.
crazy as it sounds, that's a bond for some people. They know on Thanksgiving. I hear people like, oh yeah, Uncle so and so gonna bring the chitlins. They bring them every Thursday. That's their job, or every Thanksgiving. And so, there's so many different things that we could talk about when it comes to family and the things that we consume. People say, "Oh yeah, it's inherited." No, y'all eating the same stuff. Y'all eating the same things. That's what's happening. It ain't that they passed it down to you when you was a baby, or maybe something, but you're eating the same things that they're eating. So yeah, naturally you're gonna develop more than likely the same things they develop.
Yeah, my grandmother literally had a stronger reaction to me becoming a vegan than she did to me becoming an atheist. When I told her I wasn't going to church no more, she was like, "Oh, your little ass gonna burn. You gonna." She was like, "You was raised up." But when I was like, "I ain't eating meat no more," she lost it. Like it took her years to accept that I wasn't going to eat her cooking no more. She was much like, "Leave Jesus, stay with the meat." Stay eating
Leave
my
Jesus,
neck
keep the
bone.
meat. Keep his
Right,
meat.
right.
I'm telling you.
No, and never had last time I had my grandma's neck bones was like 1991, 1990, and that broke her heart because she had the best neck bones. Cinnamon states that 4 months ago, my doctor referred me to an endocrinologist to start insulin because I was progressively worse every visit for the last several years. I left and decided to take control of my life with one last full effort to at turning my quality of life around. I didn't see the specialist. I started on a plant-based journey. I had my first blood work follow up since that appointment with the doctor. Needless to say, all all me important all my important numbers are going in reverse, and she praised my efforts afterwards. Thanks for that testimony. Glory,
Yes. Yeah.
glory, glory, glory.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
for
what's
that
up.
testimonial.
Congratulations,
Cook it.
Cinnamon.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Cinnamon. Good for you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I really do. And, stay balanced coming in on CP time. Welcome. I have a new lease on life and feel absolutely fabulous. No turning back for me. Thank you. I hope you share that story with as many people as possible, and especially your loved ones. And stay balanced state. I looked at a package of broccoli and it said 2 grams of protein. So to say it's a so to say it's a replacement than a meat. Uh, okay, yeah, that's. I mean, where do you think the cow get the damn broccoli from? You know,
The
you
gorilla,
know,
the ape,
I mean, get the protein from the cow is full of protein.
uh,
Where's the cow? The cow didn't eat steaks. You know, so yeah, and change our health. So I appreciate that. Uh, okay, here's a question from Stay Balanced. Can you share some good replacement for eggs, salmon? Because I was told broccoli was a good source, but I looked on the package and it said 2 grams. For what? Good replacement for what?
for eggs.
Is he talking about? I'm not sure. Can you ask what you're trying to supplement or replace?
Some good replacement for eggs and salmon, maybe.
Yeah, I know what you can do in recipes like that call for eggs and stuff. You can put in that. But I'm not sure. Uh, okay. Let's see. Um, a sister Mohammed Dozer, Nadira asks, do y'all cover raw versus vegan?
I don't think. I don't think we did. I mean, what aspect? Raw veganism or raw food versus cooked, or
I think
um,
she's probably talking about raw vegan versus cooked vegan.
okay. I mean, so um, well, I would like her to like maybe elaborate. Is she looking like? Is it like the health benefits of it, or like what the difference is, or?
I don't know. Well, I was a raw vegan for a few years, and when my wife was pregnant with our first child, she was like, "You can do this raw stuff, but I'm out. I can't do raw pregnant, you know."
Mhm.
And I had to sneak behind you and get no tofu. So we went off raw when our first son was born, and I I don't think it's. I mean, if people want to do raw vegan and fruitarian and all that stuff, it's very. My main issue was your whole life became centered around like soaking and sprouting and mixing. Like it became like your food prep for the day or for the week, and then you had to always go to the store because you couldn't like buy and keep stuff for in the long term. So it was just, to me, I didn't feel much different off of a vegan diet, strict vegan diet versus a strict raw diet. I didn't feel much different, and so I went on it just because I heard all the benefits, so-called benefits of it, but I didn't,
I
it's
love cooked food.
yeah,
I
fuck
love
that.
warm soup in the winter, and especially up here, I want some bisque or some soup. Or yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd like to be able to go to restaurants and stuff, you know. And I had a friend who was like a militant raw vegan, and we go to a restaurant and he come with his calabash bowl and he put a bunch of bananas in there and some almond butter that he mixed, scoop it in there, just eating that mush. And I'm like, man, about to get us thrown out of these nice folks' restaurants. I, was, I ain't good for that. You all shakes, bars all vegan. Yeah, y'all listen to James. He's built. He's like a tank. Hey, listening for Dan's in the country. Lawrence from Taiwan. Welcome. Glad you're in the States. Oh, she wants to know which is more nutritious, raw or cooked.
Well, they say it's said that cooking food, takes away nutrients and things of that nature. But then they also say if you blend raw food, it also does the same thing. So yeah, it's kind of depending on each individual ingredient that you're using. Nutritious as far as getting more nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and proteins and such. Or I mean, it's all. I guess it's all on an individual level because there's going to be things like I said when I heard that, oh, if you blend your fruit or juice or juicing actually, because just taking the skin away, which is where all the nutrients are, and you thinking you're going to get a fresh juice, and they say, it's yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It can be a lot.
All right. The most nutritious diet is a wide diet. We humans are primates and we evolved. And the reason why humans are so successful is because we had a wide range of food. We'd eat food from the tops of the trees and eat tubers that we dug from the ground. So what's most nutritious is eating a healthy variety of foods. If you go to the grocery stores, or if you're planting a garden or going to a community garden, try to get lemongrass and Swiss chard and kale, and just try to eat a wide variety of foods prepared in ways you like. And I think that's the best way to give your body a complex mix of food and give your body a good mix of raw. And you can eat some raw nuts or eat an apple, and then you can get yourself some baked tofu or even fry yourself up some tempeh. Just eat a diverse diet. A lot of times some vegans will lock into 2 or 3 food items and eat nothing but that. That's when you can start to run into nutritional deficits, when you lock in on just eating tofu in every meal, or just eating like red beans and rice every day. So if you're eating a diverse diet of many different food types, legumes, tubers, red vegetables, acidic fruit, base fruit, sweet fruit. If you're eating a wide range, you don't really have to concern yourself with all the nutrients and micronutrients. Your gut will do the rest. And yeah, and properly. I know you mentioned something. I know that your teeth probably have to be really good, because you have to masticate the food. So they probably wouldn't be all right. I wouldn't be good for someone who has dental issues. I think they're talking about something else. And somebody mentioned Just Egg. Do you use Just Egg?
I do. I use it in baking. I use it in it's something my daughter likes. So yeah, I use it. It's funny because before Just Egg came out, I was doing tofu scrambles and chickpea omelets and stuff like. I feel like I was more creative before all the meat substitutes came out. For real, I really was. I was really, I. It was one period of time, like maybe a couple months ago, and I'm like, dang. I'm cooking all this stuff that I never would have cooked before, but it's because the audience likes it. So I started going back to my foundation. I started doing my soups again and making my stuff from scratch again because I felt like I was falling into what everybody else was doing.
Mm,
And when I started getting back into my foundation, people were so happy. They're like, they're going to eat what I make because it's good. But when I started getting back into the true like nature of why I even started cooking for people, they were
yeah.
like, wow, thank you. We've been waiting for this person to come back.
Right.
I'm like, everybody could do, burgers and dogs and all of that, but nobody's making, the stuff that I make. I'm doing corn poblano soup and, like really
Right.
making real entrees. So
Yeah, that's what, because we had a cafe, and we made like tacos and burgers, and but Fridays and Saturday nights we would do full dinners, like 2 3 course meals. And you had people that only wanted like the fake chicken sandwich and the fake uh biscuits and stuff, and
hmm
come for the waffles. But then you had people that would only come for the full entree, zucchini
yeah,
and stuff like that, sauteed zucchini and pasta and stuff. So yeah, it's all types. But the good thing
yeah.
is, the vegan options satisfy almost any palate now. from there's just so many
I
options.
mean,
Which I'm happy to
and
see.
it feels good too, like with my children, if they go to a party or something that a family function, and say, for instance, they're having pizza or having burgers and dogs, I can, bring that so that as to not make my child feel like they aren't a part of what's going on. So, so I definitely am grateful for it.
So James said he needs vegan home cooking in his life. You do have personal chef services, right?
Yes, I do.
So there you go. There's a hookup, a new customer. Just
Yeah.
go there. So
I got your 10%. I got you.
yeah, let's go to can you give your contact
Yes.
information as we wrap up this evening?
Yes. So
And
I am on Instagram. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, and
I
then
was
I want
ready.
you to also make sure you text it to me and message it to me so I can put it in the link for people who come later. So
Okay. So yes. So I am on Instagram at The Cultured Vegan. I am on Facebook, The Cultured Vegan, and Twitter. I couldn't get it somehow. Cultured Vegan on there, and then you can contact me on my website www.theculturedvegan.com. And and then I'll give the information for my groups. I have two groups. I'll give to they're black vegan groups. So I'll give that to you as well, so you can post it up or whatever. James is tripping. So I'll definitely give you that information.
don't pay no attention. Just keep
I'm trying to hey, look at the corner of my eye, Q. Like that must be your friend. That must be your
yeah, he's
friend.
a good brother. He's one of my most loyal supporters. I got some good brothers out there. But I don't know why he
Like
hating
I'm
on me
blushing.
today.
Oh my gosh.
Normally he's cool, but today I don't know.
He tripping. I was trying to type it, but I guess because I'm not logged in, I wasn't able to type it in the side on the side.
But like I said, you can look in the comments to the listeners. You just look in the comments. I'm going to put her websites and contacts for her exclusive elite groups. So say he's complimenting. Giving compliments. I guess that's a good thing to leave on. Kwabana is here. Good. We got out of here before Kwabana. Kwabana don't let me say the N word. He don't let me cuss or nothing. So now I can get out of here. He just dropped in because I can't say the N word.
You have to say N word.
So thank you to everyone that came in. I hope to have you back. I'm sorry I delayed calling you. I was having trouble with my internet, and then I took a trip to New York.
You know what? I was too.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to call AT&T.
Nope, I don't. I got RCN.
Oh, I've been having problems with my phone service and internet, so it's been something going on. So, but yes, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I buy like the cheapest phones. I buy the phones that be on the side in the candy wrappers. Those are the kind of phones I buy. So my phones are always. I don't know what it's like to not have a janky phone.
I'm gonna go back to a flip phone. The flip phones used to last forever.
Right? Yeah, and you can throw them, flush them. They always come back. Right? I remember my old flip with the rubber antenna. I had that thing for years. So
I'm gonna give me a burnout. Bump it. Burnout.
You're gonna start slanging vegan cookies in the alleyway. Instead of culture.
Yes.
Anyway, I really
appreciate Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're still here in town. So it's maybe we can get together for tea and
because I'm tired of seeing you while I'm trying to chase after y'all.
Yeah, you should be out on our walks. We're power
walking.
That's how old we are. I got
y'all been inspiring me. Hey, y'all been inspiring me, man. I've been waking up every morning doing 4 miles. So
there's no going back. There's no going back. Once you start that power walking, that's the lamest exercise. Jog, don't be out there with us. We can't stop it. Very addictive disease that
it is.
Old people do. You gotta age 20 more years before you can power walk with us.
All right. I might see you tomorrow in Hyde Park. So if I
Yeah,
see you,
I
I'm gonna
definitely
see.
we over there. Doing
Okay.
our work with our, and sweatbands on, shorts above my mid thigh that only
Oh,
go mid
please don't
thigh
do
short. That's what
that.
that's what you got to do. Them white striped colored socks and Skechers. Do you have Skechers?
Hey, I
Then
had
you
my
put
red, black, and
Skechers
green
on.
socks on today. I didn't even care. I wasn't even matching. I just had them on.
We totally committed to the culture. You can't come and be a
All day. All right. Well, thank you, and
all
I
right. Thank
will
you.
talk to you soon. Okay. I'll send.
All right.
You want me to inbox you on your Facebook for
Yeah,
that,
just the
or
same way we were going back and forth where I sent you the
okay?
link. Just put it
Okay.
there, and then when I upload when the video, I'll go in later and put in all your contact
Thank
info.
you. Thank you. Thank
Continue
you.
to ask you questions and flirt with you like James. Either way, no, she's a professional. I'm there with real questions or seeking real services and
And ready to
products.
spend some money.
Right,
I'm selling food,
for black
baby.
business. Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
don't
Talk
come
to you
around with
later.
nonsense.
All
All
right.
right. Good night, sis.
Peace.
All right. Everyone else, good night. I can't leave without paying my outro. You still here? I thought you was leaving.
I was. I'm leaving.
You ain't gonna leave till I leave.
Bye.
I have to put on the outro music. Oh, now she gone. All right. That's the outro music. We'll see y'all Monday. BroDiallo show Monday. I'm gonna tell y'all, don't even tune into Monday's show because y'all gonna hate me because that show is called "Keep Tuskegee Out Your Mouth." And I'm gonna talk about all these black folks that want to talk about Tuskegee in relationship to the COVID pandemic or to that how it's informing their actions or lack thereof. So keep Tuskegee out your mouth. And how people are abusing that legacy and disrespecting our ancestors when they call on atrocities of the past without being properly informed about those atrocities. So tune in, BroDiallo. You see the support scrolling down at the bottom. James, I'm gonna send this video to your girl. You on here clowning me and acting out, so I'm gonna snitch on you. Good night to everybody. Shout out to Chauncey. Shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Without y'all, we wouldn't have the BroDiallo broadcast. I'm happy to be able to have guests and professionals, scholars, black business owners to come in here and talk about their experience and share their wisdom. I'm happy to be able to do that. So Wednesday night, BroDiallo, and then the book reviews are coming back. Like I said, I was having a lot of internet trouble, and then I was traveling. So, but now that I'm done and I'm back here and settled, so look for all the BroDiallo content you come to anticipate. I'm about to get back. I am back on schedule. So that's all I want to say. So good night. I'm just play a little bit of this outro music so I look like a professional, and I'll see y'all Monday. BroDiallo broadcast q4.org. 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, BroDiallo radio broadcast. Good night.